today is making soft set honey, our award-winning soft set honey. After Christmas we have to replenish, and now with a bit of downtime between working with the bees, it's a good time to do it. The stocks are obviously depleted after Christmas, and we have to do this now. Make sure we don't let any customers down. We get all our jars filled, so when we get back in with the bees, we've got stocks for customers online and our retailers as well. At least it's not raining today. I've never known it quite as wet down here than it has been over the last few weeks. We have a nice warm dry job today anyway. This is Honey HQ, as we call it around here, which is, it started off, it's a shipping container, which is great for the things we do. It's got wipe down walls, it's secure. It certainly handled the winds that we had the other day, didn't blow away. We've obviously converted it now, sinks in place and our stainless in place, and it works for me. It's we could always do with something bigger, but needs must, and it works well, works really well. Right, so need to get suited up first. So these very fetching hair nets, we'll put that on. Don't have much to cover these days, but how does that look? But yeah, we're dealing with food, so it is very important. 90% of what this honey is Welsh wildflower honey. So we put the Welsh wildflower honey in, we heat it up slightly so it's not crystallised itself, it's nice and runny, and then we add into that a seed honey, and that's a honey which has got the characteristics that we're looking for, very fine grained, that will create a nice spreadable buttery product at the end of it. This is some nice just heated up Welsh wildflower honey. That's really where the taste of this thing comes from. It's a wildflower honey rather than any of the field honeys that you get. So this is sometimes called a creamer. It's a soft set machine. It's not heating at the minute. You can see there the tubs have just come out of the warming cabinet. It's at 27 degrees at the minute. We want that temperature to go down to about 14 degrees over the next 10 days, and that helps that mechanical process when we add in the seed honey. It grinds and makes sure the crystal size is small. The thing about honey is if it's left to crystallise on its own, it's almost like granulated sugar. So it's not very nice, but also you can't get your spoon in because it sets like concrete. What we are going to do here is a process of crystallising that honey in a controlled way, using a mechanical means as well, and that's just going to distribute that seed honey, which is 10% of our mix. I've had some calamities with this over the years, but it's just to let that drain in now. That's the final bit. This tank will take 100 kilograms, so about 300 pounds in old money, 600 jars. It'll give us plenty of stock really to go on for a few months anyway. Yeah, the reason we got started so early in the year, this process is probably a 4-week process. It helps doing this in the winter, helps doing it in a metal box as well. It grinds it down. It uses a paddle within here, and it works for 15 minutes of every hour. So it's not constantly churning. We're not trying to introduce air into it. It's just a mechanical resetting of the crystal structure. So that happens for 10 days, and then for 1 day I'll use this heater to raise the temperature up to about 30 to 35 degrees, and that just helps it move through into our bottling machine. So we jar that honey over a day, and then it sits in our cold barn on the slate floor for a further 2 weeks, and during that 2 weeks it sets and it takes on that crystal structure and it becomes a beautiful product. Okay, so we've added in the wildflower honey, and the next step is to introduce the seed honey. And this is what we will do before we close this machine down, is we'll fill another bucket, so it's about 10%. So we put 10 buckets of wildflower honey in, 1 bucket of seed honey in, and we just drain off the finished product, which will be in 10 days time, and that becomes our seed honey for next time. Yeah, so there's about 30 pounds of essentially our finished product in here. This was made back in August, and it's basically soft set honey. It's been in a cold room, so it's not as soft, but that's the product we're looking for. It's very fine grained, it's spreadable, and it's delicious as well. What we're looking to do is, for the wildflower honey that's in here, rather than setting as it wants to, we want it to take on the characteristics that we want, which is a smooth, buttery texture. And that's what we effectively created last time. So we tap off some of that, put it in a bucket, and then this time that wildflower honey we've now got in there will take on this as well. So what we're looking for is this sort of very smooth texture. So just bit by bit we'll introduce that into this honey. Not all at once, just as we can go. Then we'll give it a little bit of a churn, add the other in, because these are sort of big lumps of seed honey at the minute. We want over the next 10 days for this to distribute itself all the way throughout that honey. So we've added some of the seed honey in. I'm going to close the lid now. I'll be popping back during the day just to add in. We want to avoid putting everything in at one time, because it needs to get amalgamated and consolidated within the wildflower honey. So we'll give it a little bit of a stir with the machine, and then I'll pop back over the next few hours and just add the rest in. The traditional way of doing it is by hand. So literally going back every hour and giving it a stir. Some people do it with those plaster paddles, you know, the muck paddles. I don't like the word muck when you sort of talk about food, but they are muck paddles, and they get a good result. But we're just aiming for consistency all the time. So this has got 2 stars for the Great Taste Awards, and we want that same honey the judges tasted to be the honey that people are buying as well. So that's the first part of the seed honey that's in the machine. As I say, I'll pop back over the next few hours and add the rest of that in. We'll get that cleaned off, and it's now time to let the machine do the work, and I can lose this hairnet as well. Come back to that later and just make myself beautifully. Today is a day we always like, which is packing honey for a brand new customer that we've got, which is the Aberfold's Distillery Visitor Centre. They've had honey before in the Visitor Centre. Some things sell well after me chatting with the manager, but I think where our honey fits in, it's also a nice gift to take back. It's reminiscent and sort of evocative of the area, mentions the area, also has a little bit of the Welsh language on the labels, so it's a nice little thing that people take away. So it's a smallish initial order. They want to just try it within the shop. As I say, they've sold honey before, but not our honey. So we'll give it a go. I'm hopeful over the season. We're in February at the minute, so little tourist trade. They still do factory tours and things like that. So we're going to just see how it goes, and then hopefully it'll build up from there. So we're just packing 3 of our best sellers, Welsh wildflower honey, Welsh soft set honey, and also our Welsh heather honey. They're taking a case of each, and we're going to do that and then go off and deliver it to them. I love making deliveries. It's meeting customers at the end of the day, whether it's the wholesale customer or people who call down at the farm, buy honey from us. It's probably the best part of the job, really. It's the end of a process from hive to jar to the customer, and hearing how they're going to use it, what their favourite honeys are. I get ideas about new products. It's really good. Great feedback. just over the wall from the place we're going to now at Aber Falls, we have 12 hives. So this is truly local honey. They're within 50 metres or so from the visitor centre that we're selling from. So you can't get more local than that. And this is our turning, so we're heading down there. Here we are. Hi Dylan.
Hi Alun, you alright?
There you go. Lovely to meet you again.
Oh, fantastic.
This is that order you gave me the other day. It's much appreciated.
Oh, fantastic.
First order of Snowdonia honey. So it's all labelled up anyway. So you've got the heather, wildflower and your soft set.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
they're in cases of 12. I'm sure they'll go really well for you.
And that's the stuff that gets made over the road there.
It is indeed. Truly local honey, about 50 metres that way.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my staff members, when we tried the samples, insisted on, well, she kept telling me how much she really liked heather honey, so I gave her one of the bottles, the jars that you gave me, and yeah, she's keeps banging on about how great
fantastic.
it is, so that's really good to know.
That's a good recommendation.
That's definitely somebody on site that's going to be recommending heather honey for you. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah. Fantastic. And it's lucky because we've just sold out the last lot as well. So.
Yeah, you got some more visitors just arriving in the
Oh, we
car
have
park.
indeed. Here we've got the group tour, so hopefully we can get this on the till very quickly so they can buy it on their way out.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant, Dylan. Thanks a lot. Once again, thanks a lot. I've sent the invoice through. Just let me know if there's any issues at all with anything, and we'll always stand behind the product.
Brilliant, fantastic.
Okay.
And we'll give you a ring when we run out, which I'm sure won't be too long.
I'll expect you call in a couple of days then.
No problem.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. It's always good to get a customer with their first order. We can sort of start to make plans for later in the year when they move into the holiday seasons, and we can plan for stock. Just give them the confidence really that the faith they've put in us, we can deliver in terms of sales for them. It's really nice as well to hear that the members of staff have taken to our honey, people who don't normally eat honey, but they've tried it, their families have tried it, and they're more than happy that it's being stocked here at the place they work. It's going to go really well here, the honey. People are in the area on holiday, day trips, and they want to take a memento home from the day. It's got great provenance, comes literally from just over the wall. The bees have made the honey. It's now on the shelves, together with some fabulous looking bottles of spirit that they sell here at Aber Falls Distillery. It's a match made in heaven, really. So what I'm going to do first, we've heated up the soft set, which spent the last 10 days, 11 days actually. In this room it's 9 degrees at the minute, has been as low as 3 degrees. But for the last 24 hours we have to heat it up again. And we've done it to 34 degrees. That just helps it flow better through the bottling machine. Once it's in those jars, it'll go back in the boxes with lids on obviously, and then we'll put it in the barn on the slate floor for the next at least a couple of weeks, or probably until it gets sold really, and that will set nicely within the jar. We have to do it at this point because if it sets in the machine, we're buggered. Yeah, this machine from Lyson takes 100 kilograms of honey. Like all things, I wish I'd have bought the one up from this because this is quite a time-consuming process, particularly in the beekeeping season. So 100 kilograms of honey is about 600 jars, and we can jar with this machine 600 jars in just over an hour as well. It is quite fraught once it gets going because you can't blink. It's a continual process. Hit the wrong button and there's honey everywhere. What I'm going to do is I need to make sure I store all my jars upside down. So these go on the turntable and turn them the same way. The reason I store them upside down is, you know, any tiny little shards of glass or foreign bodies will fall past them rather than fall into them. But I just want to make sure that when it dispenses the honey, it's doing so underneath, right bang in the middle of this bit here. So now this is the most nerve-wracking part of the process. Because what we're going to do is once this machine starts, gets to a position that it's dosing correctly, we want to keep it going as much as possible. So the first few jars I'll put to one side, and then when we hit that weight, it'll just be a case of filling as many as we can. We'll do about 600 jars, I think, out of this machine. So obviously that one's a dud. Take one of those. 235 grams per minute. Now they come round here. Take those off. Well, check weight. Exactly the same. Well, once it's dialed in, it's really accurate. When it works, it's very therapeutic.
Do you enjoy your job?
I do enjoy it. It's a sort of fruits of the labour, not just of me, but you're sort of thinking of customers, and the next time these jars will be opened, we'll be with a customer, maybe breakfast or lunch or something. There we go. So the next job is putting some lids on. Again, another really therapeutic job. I'm really pleased with the result as well. It's a beautiful pale colour, this. Soft set is easier to make, I think, in the winter when you can get the temperature down for 10 days. You've got to be organised enough in April to make sure you've got things. What I do is I store very little in buckets, food grade buckets, but I like to store them in the jars for that reason. So I'll constantly be filling jars, because between sort of April and August, then the next harvest, there's just not the time to do it. And then we extract in end of August, so everything in here moves out and we change it into an extraction facility. But then again, I put everything in jars because in September, that's when your Christmas period starts really. So it's shipping stock off and filling hampers and all that sort of thing. I enjoy it, I really do. Puppies, they were vet checked last week, they're all healthy. Eyesight, temperatures, joints, hernias, those sort of things. Just a good old check over. First vaccinations, then microchipped. And then straight away, two have gone. We haven't really advertised them. They've gone locally to other farms that keep sheep, which is really good. Really pleased about that. Because they're the breed of dog that doesn't like to sit in front of the fire. They need to be working constantly, and they're better for it. So we've got 4 left, 3 girls and a boy. There's a couple that are showing promise. We may keep 1, we may keep 2, we definitely won't keep 4, despite what other people might tell you. But they're all very good dogs, really good, very pleased with them. They spend most of the time in the stables during the day, but in the morning, afternoon and last thing at night, just before it goes dark, I like to just give them a run out in the field with their mum, and some of the other dogs as well, because it socialises them, gets them used to life. You know, even things like chickens and cats, they all get to see them. Hopefully they don't want to kill them. Generally they don't. Everything seems to get on well here. So yeah, last walk before it goes dark, and it's been a busy day again, like it always is. But you know, here we are. It's probably about 6 o'clock now. It's still light, and it's looking good for spring very soon. I'll certainly miss our evening walks and morning walks, but as long as they go to the right sort of place where they're working, getting stimulated, then I'm okay with that. And you know, Meg and me have done our job. So yeah, there's nothing to be sad about on that. They'll go to good homes. I'll make sure of that.